This is the Range Rover Sport Supercharged. It's fast, it's powerful, it's loud, and it's luxurious. And it can go off-roading. I'm Tom Albrecht, and this is FLD Tours. Welcome to the 2014 Range Rover Sport Supercharged. So let's get the basics out of the way. 510 horsepower, 461 pound-feet of torque from a 5-liter supercharged V8. That's a lot of power, but that's a lot of power that comes for a price. $92,480. That is expensive, and it's not even that great on gas. But if you're spending that kind of money on an SUV, I think spending 80 to 100 bucks at the pump for premium once every week, week and a half, depending on how often you drive it, not really a big deal. Let's start with the obvious. This is a Range Rover. It will go off-road. It will go off-road really well. Pretty much better than a lot of things on the market unless you have a purpose-built machine. And I'm talking like your off-road Raptors or your TRDs. Those things are like really beefy. But if you're like, say, you know, you want to go on a weekend trip and there's some off-roading involved, I mean, like water, rocks, hills, mud, dirt, whatever, this will take it. It will take a beating. As with all luxury vehicles at this level, attention to detail is where it really shines. All the touch points feel great, like the aluminum, the door handles, the buttons, everything has a nice soft touch to it. The steering wheel is meaty enough and comfortable to hold on to. The paddle shifters are plastic, but you know what? It doesn't really make a difference to me at this point. It's just, you know, it's an SUV. It's not really your high-performance sports car. Full LCD display. You put it in sport mode and S comes up. You start playing with the paddle shifters or move the shifter up and down. Numbers pop up. The experience is really premium. The touchscreen is decent, it's quick enough, it's really well within reach, it's pretty simple to understand. There's a button dedicated to the camera so you can see different cameras around the car. It actually has the surround camera view, which is really neat for like parking or off-roading. Speaking of cameras, the surround cameras and the backup camera, my cell phone has a better camera than this. You can put a better camera in there. Sorry, not to bust your balls, but I gotta say it. In terms of interior space, if you've got two large adults, there's plenty of room for both of them in the front, not only in terms of leg room, but also in terms of center armrest space. So both people can have their arms right in the middle of the console and not really touch elbows unless they want to. Rear passenger comfort is excellent. I had friends back there, everyone sat there comfortably. The panoramic sunroof is amazing. It's huge. Some little things that took me a while to figure out were the dome lights and the passenger lights. They were touch, so you basically just touch the light, turns on and off. It has blind spot monitoring, which is pretty good. It also warns you when you're near the curb, or at least I think it does, 'cause that's what it did for me a bunch of times. Another neat feature of the truck is auto stop start. So in order to help you save some fuel, is when you come to a complete stop at a traffic light and your foot's firmly on the brake and you don't take it off, it turns itself off completely, which saves fuel. I've driven a few other vehicles that had this system in it. A lot of them were kind of rough. This one actually is pretty decent. It's quick to turn itself back on, and the moment you take your foot off the brake and hit the gas, it's like the truck was never off in the first place, which is really convenient. The phone interface is great. I can listen to my music through the Bluetooth. It does have USB ports, something that another car manufacturer has an issue with. I'm gonna, leave them nameless at the moment, Audi. Excuse me. All right, so let's talk about things that you really want to know about. It's fast. The engine is loud and it's powerful. So let's put it in sport mode and yeah. Jaguar Land Rover really have got it down when it comes to awesome sounding engines and exhaust. They nailed it. I love that sound. And the biggest consequence of that is you just waste gas left and right. But you know what? It's worth every penny. It does have an 8-speed transmission. The ride control is amazing. You know, it's dynamic. It adjusts to basically what's going on the road. It has airbag suspension, so you can lift it up and down. I get a kick out of that all the time, especially when I'm like picking up friends. I drop it to access mode and it just lowers the Range Rover as far down as it can go, which, you know, is low enough to get in and out comfortably for relatively average height people. Or you can bump it up all the way to off-road mode, which gives you the maximum amount of clearance and lets you go places that some Jeeps can't go. Believe it or not, taking this car into the corners, taking this truck into the corners feels like a car almost. It handles really well and it stays really flat. So that tells me the suspension's doing an amazing job at really judging how hard, how fast you're going into a turn and adjusting the suspension accordingly to make sure that, you know, you don't have a code brown moment and the truck's wheels go off the ground. Hasn't happened yet. I've taken some exits that most cars feel comfortable at, you know, if you're an average driver at around 40 miles an hour. If you're driving Spirited, you can take it up to 65, 70, depending on the car you're in. And I took that exit ramp around 55, and this thing really didn't have any problems doing that. I was comfortable. I didn't feel like the truck was doing anything more than it could. Word of warning though, if you start going hard into the turns, like really hard like a car, there's probably a point where this will tip, and the threshold, although very high, is narrow. So I think it would go from really, really comfortable planted to, oh shit, really quickly. But I don't know that for a fact. I'm just making an assumption based on the way it's driving. So let's talk about off-road mode a little bit. If you go into the home menu on your screen and then extra features, there's a button known as 4x4i. And let me tell you what this does. When you're in off-road mode, you can see the angle of your wheel, basically with which direction they're turning, whether your center and rear differentials are locked, and in the Sport Supercharged, you can actually lock the rear differential completely. And it also tells you the angle of your axles relative, you know, to articulation of the wheels. So say you have two wheels on the ground, two wheels off, it'll actually show you the angle of the wheels based on, you know, where they are, which is really nifty. So that, combined with all the cameras around here, makes this a really excellent off-road truck and very capable of taking you places that most other vehicles, including SUVs and some purpose-built off-road vehicles like a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, they can't go. This thing can do it, which is awesome. Another neat feature of this truck, it has hill descent. A lot of trucks and some cars also have hill descent available in them, but what makes this unique is that when you're on a hill, you turn on hill control, you can set the target speed with the cruise control's plus or minus buttons. So say you're going down a really steep hill and you want to take your time and you want to make sure you're paying attention to other things and not necessarily have to worry about braking, or you're not sure that if you don't want to brake too much or too little that the truck loses control, the truck will do it for you. In normal mode, in terms of ride height, it looks very aggressive. When it's pumped all the way up to off-road mode, still looks aggressive. The headlights and the rear taillights are really nice and sleek. They look very modern. The sheet metal, the shoulder lines, the design look all very unique to the brand and really stand out among its competition. The wheels on this thing are beautiful. They're 21 inches on this package, and they also come with Brembo brakes, which bite really hard. So it has a sports car feel to it, not only in terms of acceleration, but braking as well. It does handle everything really, really wonderfully well. So yeah, it's an expensive luxury SUV. However, it does do exactly what it says it can. It's comfortable, it's fast, it's luxurious. They paid attention to a lot of details that a customer would be looking for, and it does really go off-roading. We made it all the way out here on street tires, and it didn't have a single problem. That's impressive. Even though it's not the most audacious and really tough off-roading place to go, but you know what, if you're trying to go somewhere in the country, somewhere that's off the beaten path, this truck will have absolutely no problem getting you there. I'm Tom Albrecht, and thanks for watching FLD Tour. Lane departure warning, you know, if you're running off the lane, it gives a little buzz. Does it? Actually, no, it doesn't have lane departure warning. Ooh, never mind. All right, Max, cut that part. This is the Range Rover Sport Supercharged.
Don't do the hips.
Okay. You had my shot.